Welcome, everyone. Here's a very cool pyramid that was made in 1976. These are almost impossible to find a kit of this, and I actually found one in mint condition. I've had it for many years. Unfortunately, I don't have all the instructions still around, but you can see it's very well done. They had this really cool looking box. Well made, well put together. It is only plastic, so I'm assuming these things were easy to make. And there's nothing, it's starting to come out that plastic is not necessarily. You can see it says 1976, Highland Park, Illinois. Book contains a Pyramid Power pedestal. They give you a pedestal. They give it a lot of. Really, somebody put some time and energy into this. To make it really nice. And I always appreciate that as a business person. No one has any idea how much work it really takes to do anything, which is enormous. Pyramid Power can now be your servant. Throughout the world today, there are thousands who attest that pyramids are capable of powers which range from preserving fruit to improving sex. You're now able to join them in the determining for yourself the validity of these claims and exploring other expressions of pyramid power. We welcome you to the exclusive club of pyramid owners. Pyramid Power is your key. Care for it. Believe in it. So you can see this is done by somebody. That tells me that it was someone who was serious about this. Did a good job. They have hieroglyphics in there. Here's the side I was just showing you. May improve your, reported to heighten your intelligence. May prolong razor blade life. So I like how everybody's watching what they're saying. And of course, the bottom is only white. So, it's a fun thing, and you got this little scroll in there, which again was very well done. Very well done kit. I have no idea what this retailed for initially. In 1976. As I said, unfortunately, I wasn't into a lot of the practical stuff then. In 76, I was still kind of in the yoga dumb areas, which really got me nowhere in life, even though concentration, meditation, breathing, that's all good, but the fun stuff I wasn't into at this particular time. But this is the kind of stuff that was on the market in 1976. Now, this is just plastic. It's just a plastic pyramid. And apparently none of that matters. A very interesting book, which I'm going to review here very soon, is Pyramid Energy Handbook by Serge V. King, Ph.D. He's now heavily into kahuna magic and other things and become a priest of that. He's still around. He's written books in that. This is a very rare book. It's hard to find. I found this recently, and for an old 1970s book, it was really expensive. I think it was like $10, if you can call that. Let's see when this was actually published. 1977. Really excellent book, and this guy is an experimentator, or this book is filled with practical information, talks about all the things that you really want to know about pyramids, like does it matter if it has sides, does it matter what it's made of. He covers it all in here, and I'm going to talk about all this stuff. And he kind of combines it with his, at this time, orgone and so forth, which he talks about particularly in a magazine article, which I'm going to cover as well. Now, the great thing about Pyramid Power is almost anybody can use it. It's fun. It's interesting. And he talks mostly about using a cardboard pyramid that he cut out. So, it doesn't cost you anything. And this is something that always tends to be holding people back, that the cost of things. And sometimes these costs can be outrageous. The problem in this day and age is everything's expensive, and you've got to charge for things. And, of course, when you buy something or have something made, it's not cheap. So, it's very difficult to find anything you can offer to people inexpensively in one way or another. Postage itself is $15, $20 on some of the smallest items. So, it's just a plastic pyramid. It's got little bricks on it, as you can see here. It's attractive. I mean, it's well made. And sorry, I mean, metal pyramids are not any better. You didn't see metal pyramids in Egypt, and you didn't see open pyramids in Egypt. What I like about this is that it's a closed pyramid, and I do think there's some energetic factor to that. The other thing that you don't see too often in common pyramids is the sweet spot pedestal. Now, this comes with this, and what's nice is they give you this whole little kind of place pyramid along the borders, place pedestal here, place on any flat surface away from extreme temperature variations and major electrical appliances. Locate diagram with the arrow pointing to true north. See that? Are we seeing that? No, okay, we're not seeing that. Okay, true north. Let me pull back here so we can see this a little better. Now, true north is not magnetic north, and this is another thing, of course, that the book talks about, and I've always been kind of confused with. Magnetic north is not true north. He's saying point to true north. Now, I heard Flanagan on a radio show say the same thing, who wrote an entire book on this. Now, Serge doesn't say that, and it says he works in most positions. But you're saying true north with this. So this should be pointing to true north. And then you place the pyramid over this. Place pedestal in the position on the diagram. Place object to be energized on the pedestal. If you are using a tall object, such as a wine glass, remove the pedestal and place the glass in the pedestal's position. Put the pyramid on axis diagram in its position. Energizing will now commence. So, this is one thing that people tend to overlook, and I guess this is about 2 inches here. And of course, you just do what it says here. You just put it on the, I'll push that box out of the way. What's interesting with the Serge King here, and you're set up, all you got to do is make sure you're, which is kind of nice. It has this whole little setup here, little mat. So that you can easily set this up. And Serge King here talks about positioning, what's important, what's not important, materials. As I said, I found it to be very interesting. And the position of the pyramid has always been talked about as being so critical. Now, King says it's not. The positioning of it isn't as critical. And I've always kind of thought this, but for experiments. Now, Flanagan says it is as well, and you've got to point one of the edges true north, or one of the sides like you have here. So here's a very cool kit from the 70s, and pyramids you can do anything with. Also, what King talks about is that you don't need to place things under pyramids for long periods of time, and this can have an upsetting effect. Too much pyramid energy can be bad for you or upset you. This is another thing I never really thought about. Everybody wants to place things, and I do it routinely, under pyramids for long periods of time. Well, this may be okay for fluids and stuff. I do this with herbs and other things, but maybe not. Maybe something just needs a shot of pyramid energy. Too much energy may be bad for it. So this is all quite fascinating what to get into. I mean, there's a momentous amount of research that was done in the 70s on pyramid power that you can find in many books. And this is kind of all died out. Pyramids are kind of on the average now. Nobody thinks much of them. I don't think one way or another. I've always been fascinated by them. I mean, there are pyramids of some type or another all over the world, even on Mars. Why? What is this pyramid culture, and why are they building these structures? What do they do? Now, I've also seen someone who actually put electricity in a pyramid and was able to light a bulb. Well, that's pretty mind-blowing if you think about it. There's Serge and his family in there. And this was very big in the 70s. People did interesting stuff there. I believe that's his wife. People sitting, and he talks about using these. And one very interesting aspect of being in a pyramid which we all should find interesting, is that he found that when he put people in pyramids, sitting in them, they were able to bend metal much easier. Is this another key to spoon bending? Now, spoon bending is pretty easy, actually, if you get into the right centered position. Does this enhance it? Sitting in a pyramid enhance psychic energies, psychic functioning? Well, it certainly seems to. And a lot of people used to just wear these on their head. You just place a pyramid like this on your head. The positioning isn't all that critical. And it improves your entire psychic ability. So, and the whole pyramid that was pretty much from this 60s type culture was real big into the 70s. And then you didn't hear much about it, unfortunately. So, but here's a kind of a, it's nice to actually make a video on this for prosperity. This is what was available back in the 70s, some of the many cool things. Unfortunately, they were making flat pyramid kits with copper rods. I used to sell these up until the 90s, until that company went out of business. You can get 9-inch, 6 to 9-inch pyramids fairly easily. We sell some as well, which you can use to put things on and under. And certainly it's a good idea, but you should use your pendulum to ask, is how much? Is it just putting it underneath there? You may only need 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, you can, let's say you hurt a piece of your body. You could put a pyramid over that piece of your body, put your hand underneath the pyramid. Let's say you hurt your hand. And you don't need to do that for hours and hours, apparently. So, as I said, this book goes into all that, and I will be discussing this in detail in the future and several other things. There's some fascinating, which doesn't seem to be much interest to people on YouTube, with these magazines that have these fantastic articles in them. But I'm going to be going over them and breaking them down in the future. But what a cool little kit. Certainly would be nice to see something like this back on the market. If I had time, I would get involved in a project like this, but this is something that people should get back into. It's also a non-threatening thing for a lot of society, that if you have pyramids around, you're testing something. I think everybody's fascinated by that, and it's a great way to actually, and here's the actual pedestal again. It's just empty underneath. They don't have any brick indentations in that to make it look like that. Certainly is a great way to get people to think about alternative energy and so forth. So pyramids are certainly fascinating in their many aspects, and it's just the fact of creating the shape, and what it's made out of apparently doesn't matter that much. So I hope everybody enjoyed this. As I said, watch for my book review on the pyramid power and the rest of it. Certainly something fascinating. And something that should be around everywhere. There should be pyramid places where people can go sit under for short periods of time. They should be in, same thing, in hospitals for short periods of time. Because again, more is not necessarily better. But these are things that cost nothing, are ancient technology, and should be viewed that way. And not viewed from an ignoramus, bozo perspective that you get from these pseudo-intellectual religious stooges that want to bring us back to the Dark Ages, dying in misery and pain to believe in their stooge comic book gods. Here is technology, people, and the great societies of the world, which we can't even come close, meaning the Aztec Mayan. Well, there's pre-Aztec and Mayan. They were not too bright, apparently, and the later kingdoms of Egypt weren't too bright either. So it goes back to this special culture that had all this technology, and we need to rediscover it and use it again, and find out how we can assist ourselves and make energy, etc. So until next time.